The Premier League's Monday night offering sees West Ham host Bournemouth. David Moyes saw West Ham side's good run ended at Liverpool on Wednesday evening, but the manner of our second half performance certainly did look encouraging. And in the grand scheme of things, a tight loss away at Anfield is hardly fatal to our attempts to push up the Premier League after such an improvement since the start of the season. Bournemouth, meanwhile, lost at home to Southampton last time out, and they have proven to be difficult to beat under the stewardship of former West Ham midfielder Gary O'Neill. Run the bad boy titles. Now, there's no point in seeing me sit here and talk to you about the opposition, as we've been doing a lot recently. We're bringing on an opposition fan, so I'm going to bring on a new friend to the channel, and it is this man here. Craig, how you doing, my friend? You all right?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Anton. Thank you so much for having me on here.
No, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Craig, if you don't mind, just letting everyone know where you come from, the channel and where they can find you, etc.
Yep. So our channel is called UTCIAD, stands for short, Up the Cherries in All Departments. So you can find us on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. We've got interviews with the likes of, and of course you've had him on here as well, Harry Redknapp, Steve Cook, Steve Fletcher.
Harry.
Yeah, good old Harry. Got loads and loads of stories. So yeah, it's a growing channel. It's exciting. We're doing our cherry picking show as well every Thursday. So please do come check us out, hit the subscribe button and let us know what you think.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Listen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, but we do have a big Premier League game to talk about, and that is, of course, your lot from Bournemouth travelling up to the London Stadium against David Moyes' West Ham, of course. Now, last time out for you guys, Southampton, you got beat 1-0. Brief thoughts on that, mate?
Well, before the game, I thought that Southampton aren't particularly a very good side. They're not in particularly good form. I think the only team I believe they beat was Leicester beforehand, and I was quietly confident going into that game, and I thought we should be able to. We've got enough in the tank to beat them, especially how we played against Fulham the previous week, where we drew 2-2. We was unlucky not to come away with all 3 points from Craven Cottage, but unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. We did huff and puff. We did have more attempts on target than West Ham. We seemed to control the possession. Control the possession better than Southampton, I should say. And yeah, personally, I just think, our distribution wasn't particularly very good from dead ball situations. So Marcus Tavernier crossing the ball in. Lewis Cook can do that, and I think personally, because he's a little bit shorter than Tavernier, not really a presence in the box, he would be better positioned. Christie did have some runs, didn't really get anything of note on target, and Solanke on the night was a little bit disappointing. So yeah, unfortunately, it was one of them, and it's how we bounce back now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the key thing. Now, listen, we do know everything about Scott Parker. We also know a lot about Gary O'Neill that have been your two most recent managers as such. Again, briefly, what's your thoughts on Gary O'Neill at Bournemouth?
Gary O'Neill should get the job. I've met Gary personally, and he's very, very meticulous in what he does. He's very precise. He looks exactly at every team and every eventuality. He's somebody who wants a managerial job, and personally, I think he's earned the chance to have this one.
Yeah.
um, because let's cast our minds back to that awful 9-0 defeat up at Liverpool. And I was there. Um, and after that game, I thought, we've got no chance. Um, the only problem was, as a fan, I can say that, but from a manager's perspective, what Scott Parker did, um, with such a young team, that's going to knock those players. And
For six. Yeah.
yeah, and what Gary O'Neill's done is he's come in, got a draw against Wolves straight away, so he's already picked them up and also not conceded, which
Yeah.
after a big defeat is probably the first key pointer of recovering from that. We were 2-0 down against Forest. We beat them 3-2. Against Leicester, went 1-0 down, beat them 2-1. Against Fulham, should have got all 3 points. I think he deserves the job. Um, I think a lot of Bournemouth fans would agree with me on that.
Yeah.
Some would disagree. Some would say that we need a bigger name. Of course, we are in the midst of a takeover as well. But personally, for me, Gary O'Neill knows the club, and I think he's earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, you've got really quality players there now. I'm gonna before we come on to the kind of current crop that you've got there. There is a couple of players we want to talk about. One particular, Ryan Fredericks, who of course is now playing at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how's he getting on, and what do you fans think of Ryan Fredericks? Because our fan base was split when he left, but I
hmm
think predominantly the majority really liked him and always thought that he had such a good ability.
I was a little bit surprised by his signing. And the reason being is in that position, we've got Adam Smith, we've got Jack Stacey. Um, what's happened in the past two games is Adam Smith has actually moved over to the left hand side. He's dropped Zamora and brought Fredericks in. And I think Fredericks has surprised me somewhat. I think he's really driven the
Yeah,
team forward. Um, he should have had a penalty against Fulham. Um, he's a very clever player. He's very good at linking up with Ryan Christie on that right hand side, and he's a good passer of the ball. Um, so it's a bit of a welcome surprise, actually. I
yeah.
didn't when he first signed, I wasn't overwhelmed. I'll be perfectly honest with you, but at the same time, I think he's shown to be an good, astute bit of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, you've got quite a lot of big lads, big physical lads as well.
Mhm.
Strong physical team. Solanke, he's made 9 appearances in the Premier League, scored 2 goals with 3 assists. So he knows how to put the ball in the back of the net or find an opportunity for
Mhm.
the other players there. Philip Billing in midfield, 11 games, 3 goals. And 1 assist for you guys as well. And then you signed another player from the Championship, Kiefer Moore, played 11
Yeah.
games. He's been seems to be a regular in the starting lineup. I mean, are these players clicking? What's your thoughts on the game coming up with these particular players against West Ham?
I think Solanke is now proving himself in the Premier League. The last time we was here 2 seasons ago, and of course we went down in Operation Restart, which was a horrible blow, horrible way to get relegated. After and just before that, we narrowly got beat by Liverpool, who were the eventual champions. We drew against Chelsea. Yeah, it was a horrible way to go down, and to be honest, we didn't see much from Solanke. We wasn't confident at that point. Those 2 seasons in the championship have actually changed him as a player.
Yeah,
So what he is, he's not a greedy striker. If he's in a good position, he'll go for goal. But if he can see a better opening for somebody like Jefferson Lerma or Philip Billing, he'll actually pull it back. He does a lot of tracking back as well. A lot of running. He's not a target man, so to
yeah,
speak. But he will do. He's a little bit in the Callum Wilson mold, where he will do a lot more than just your average striker. With regards to Philip Billing, he is a quality midfielder. He, without a shadow of a doubt, is our best player on his day. And why I say on his day is he's a confidence player.
Right. Okay.
Against Leicester, you know, as soon as something happened for him, he was a completely different player
Yeah.
on that pitch. Um, so he, if he's in the right frame of mind, he'll be fantastic, I'm sure. You know, on Monday night. And Kiefer Moore's a slower player, but he is a target man. He's a big man. He's very physical, gets his head up there. Um, he's one of those players that you want there when you're chasing a game or you need an opportunity against maybe one of the bigger sides. And I would put West Ham in that category as well because, of course, you've recently got into Europe and you've done very, very well. He's one of those players that if it is nil-nil against a big side, you could throw him on there, get the balls into the box, and there's every chance that he'll get his head on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Listen, you've played 11 games in the Premier League. You've won 3, you've lost 4, you've scored 10, but you have conceded 23 goals with 3
Yeah.
clean sheets. What's the biggest issue at Bournemouth this year?
I would say defensively, um, it is a little bit of an issue. It is a little bit of an issue. Senesi at first, and especially for that 9-0 defeat, he was thrown straight in there for that game. And he was always going to struggle a little bit
Yeah.
um, because the Dutch league, he's an Argentine international. The Dutch league is a very different league to the Premier League.
Say
And
that again. Yeah.
you know, coming up against Liverpool on that day as well. And Liverpool haven't been particularly very good this season, but against us, yes, we made it easy for them. But I think they would have beaten majority sides in Europe.
Yeah.
They were very, very good that day. Um, but I think defensively, there is some naivety there. Chris Metham has done very well. I was surprised and I was very worried at the start of the season when we had to start that Villa game with him alongside Lloyd Kelly. Lloyd Kelly is currently injured, and you know that's a massive blow because it means if there's an injury to either of them, James Hill, who was at Fleetwood Town, would have to come in. Um, Personally, that is our weak point. Metham has done well, but have we got the strongest defence? Probably not. Zamora, who of course has been dropped for the past 2 games, is a fantastic left back. He's a very, very young player. I think he will go to the very, very top of English
Yeah.
football
Yeah.
or even international. Um, but I think at the moment, Adam Smith on the left, Ryan Fredericks on the right is working. Even
Yeah.
though it didn't work so well against Southampton, it's been working, and I
Yeah. It's
think
been
we've got to
working.
stick
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, listen, if you look at the comparison to West Ham's Premier League record, played 11, won 3, lost 6, scored 9. The difference here is we've conceded less, 12, so we're not scoring goals, but we're
Mhm.
not conceding as many, with only 2 clean sheets as well. But it is going to be an interesting game, of course, at the
Mhm.
London Stadium when
Yeah.
Bournemouth do travel up in front of the lights, in front of the telly, in front of 60,000 fans, and there'll be many Bournemouth fans there. Craig singing loud and proud, getting their
Yes.
voices heard across there, and you'll be wanting to shut up shop as much as they can with West Ham as well. So, what's your thoughts on how Gary O'Neill will kind of set up? What's he going to be saying to his players? And then finally, I'll ask you for your predictions.
I think he'll probably set up the same way as he did against Southampton. And I think Solanke will start up top. I think it will be Billin, Lerma, and Lewis Cook in the centre. I think Marcus Tavernier will be on the left hand side. He will probably end up taking the dead ball situation, so the corners, the free kicks, which I would hope that Gary O'Neill would probably look at it and think, right, Lewis Cook is probably going to be better. I was speaking to a Middlesbrough fan, and they said he had the same issues there.
Yeah,
So that's something to look out for. Marcus Tavernier is not a very good dead ball he's not a dead ball specialist at all. So I don't know why he's taking the free kicks.
Yeah,
And I think Ryan Christie on the right hand side, and like I say, the defence, I think will be the same. I can't see him making any changes, even though we did get beat against Southampton. That was the same side that got a good result against Fulham at Craven Cottage.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah. Of
hopefully
course.
it's just a blip. And it'll show faith in the side as well if he does stick with that team.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, with all that in mind, with everything we've discussed, I've got a few more questions, and I'm going to ask for your
Mhm.
predictions. The first question is: who is the man you fear the most from West Ham?
Oh, there's only one that really does jump out to me straight away, and that is Declan Rice.
Declan
And
Rice.
that is going to be interesting because
Yeah.
I would say our strongest position is the midfield.
Mhm.
So it's now up to Gary O'Neill, and I don't know how he will combat Declan Rice. I reckon it'll be Declan Rice and Lewis Cook that will be in most of the duels. But I might be wrong. Jefferson Lerma is a little bit more physical, but I
Yeah.
think if you're looking for a like for like player, of course, Declan Rice is one of the best players in the country, if not the
Mhm.
world, at this moment in time. But if you're looking for a like for like footballer and the player that is most similar to him from our side, I think you'd say Lewis Cook would be
Yeah.
the one to deal with him. He's just quality. He's the engine in the middle of the West Ham team, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think if he gets injured, then that's going to be a big concern for David
Big
Moyes.
concern. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely. Um, who's the man that West Ham should watch the most?
I would say, based on what he can do and providing, you know, he has his confidence up, I would say Philip Billing
Right.
because he he's very, very skillful. He is about 6'6". He's
Yeah.
massive.
He's a
He's
big lad, isn't he?
huge.
Yeah. He's
Um,
huge.
I, I didn't realize how tall he was until fairly recently. And he towered over me, and I'm 6 foot. And for a big man, he's very skillful. He's not particularly brilliant in the air. He's getting
Yeah.
better,
Yep.
um, but he's very,
But
very
there's room for
skillful.
improvement. There's room for
Yeah,
improvement.
definitely room for improvement, but
Yeah.
it's just the way he sprays the ball about. Of course, he was the one that set up Kiefer Moore in that big game to win us promotion to the Premier League against Nottingham Forest back in May. Um, so yeah, when he's on his game, I think he's going to be the one you'll want to keep quiet.
Yeah, absolutely. Another player. I'm going to come on to. I'm not going to talk about him, but Junior Stanislas is at the club.
Mhm.
How's he getting on?
He did come on against Southampton. He's he's been brilliant for Bournemouth throughout the years. He's been a real credit to the club. Of course, an Eddie Howe signing, and unfortunately, he's been very, very unlucky with injuries.
Injuries, yeah,
Yeah, and against Southampton, yeah, we didn't see much of him, but I think he is lacking a little bit of pace at the moment. Whether or not he's still recovering, I'm not sure, but I do worry that maybe his time's running out in the Premier League. I think he'll do a good job for a championship team.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Right then, last question for you then, Craig.
Go on.
Bournemouth travel to West Ham, London Stadium, 8 o'clock Monday night. Give us your predictions, and you can be as honest as you need to be, mate.
Um, I always like predicting that we're going to win, but I can't because I think West Ham are a very, very good side, um, very strong in good form, and I would be happy coming away from the London Stadium with a 1-1 draw.
Yep, yep. And I've been on your channel and I have said that I think West Ham will concede, but I think we'll score. And I'm going to go for a 3-2 West Ham
Mhm.
victory. But all the best to you guys over at Bournemouth after the game on Monday, Craig.
Yeah.
After the game on.
Although you, you say that, but we have had some high-scoring games throughout the years,
Yeah,
and of course,
yeah.
West Ham were the first team that we beat in the Premier League after
Yeah.
promotion back in
Just rub that in a
2015.
little bit more.
Yeah, and that was a high-scoring game, wasn't it?
It was. It
With a
was.
Callum Wilson hat-trick.
Yeah,
So
we all remember Callum Wilson, don't we all? Don't we all remember
yeah.
him? And
Don't
glad
worry,
he's
he's
off
not
the
here
books.
anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, Craig, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. But if I'll put the description in the link and all that sort of stuff to your channel when that happens. So go across and make sure you do go and check out all the content across there. If you are new around here, please make sure you do hit that subscribe button. We're on the march towards 20,000 subscribers, so you have to click that subscribe button. You'll see it there. You will click the red button and it will turn grey. That means you've subscribed. Then there's a bell notification. If you hit that bell notification, that will notify you when our shows do go live. Craig, the Bournemouth fan, thank you for coming on, mate. And of
Pleasure.
course, to everyone in the group, take it easy and get behind West Ham. Come on, you Irons.
It's like a family tree.